Good morning, everybody. We have made it live and we are ready for some more Torah learning. We have a new chapter in the Shulchan Aruch. We're going to get started here. For those who are following along with us, might think, why aren't we doing the laws of Shavuot? Shavuot is coming and shouldn't be reviewing all the laws. Well, there are actually no mitzvot that really require any kind of deep analysis for Shavuot. It's just to have Yantif, don't work, go to Shul, learn Torah is a minhag, should do it. Eating milchiks is a minhag, and that's Shavuos. Okay, we're on to the next chapter, and we've been learning about the different meals and different things to do and so forth. Okay, so now we just had an appetizer, right? We learned what to do about appetizers, and now we're in chapter 40. This is an area, friends, where many people we could use improvement in their methods. So hopefully by our learning today, we're going to get some refresher and do it better and elevate the mitzvah. Chapter 40 in the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, the laws of Netilat Yadayim. Their origin, why do we do this? It comes from Tara and Tuma, and that is impurity and impurity, which were a much bigger part of Jewish life during the times of the temple, because we couldn't eat food that with impure hands. And so the sages instituted the obligation to purify our hands by washing them in the prescribed manner before eating bread, as well as other foods that were dipped in liquids commonly. Although most applications of Tara and Tuhuma are no longer applicable today, we adhere to these procedures for a couple of reasons. One, hopefully, God willing, we will all be able to practice them in the time of the rebuilding of the temple. That's the big one, right? If the Jewish people are to stop washing hands and then all of a sudden the temple comes along, we're going to be out of practice. Another reason is to preserve the cleanliness of the food that we're going to eat. And concern for cleanliness and hygiene is not just a physical issue, it has spiritual value as well. And it's associated with purity and holiness. And it's also going to add on another point. We're much more mindful of what we're doing. Before we sit down to have a meal, have a sandwich, grab some bread, we first have to pause, wash our hands, give recognition to the one above, and that's a beautiful thing. Netilat Yadayim is one of the most beautiful mitzvot, and even though the laws of Tum and Tahara, as they apply in the temple, don't apply today, right now, we still can gain a lot from proper hand washing, kavana, intention, technique, and so forth. Okay. By the way, I'll also point out, as we're going to learn a little bit later in this chapter, that there are authorities who say that there's no longer an obligation to wash your hands for other foods that are dipped in liquids. That the main thing is hamotzi. Number 1, paragraph 1. Somebody wants to eat bread, upon which the right blessing would be hamotzi, lechem min haaretz. First must wash their hands if the bread that they'll be eating is at least the volume of an egg. And they recite the blessing on the washing. But if they're having just a bread crumb, they do not make a bracha upon the washing. They wash, but they don't make the bracha. I suppose you're just trying some bread that would be smaller than a kazayat, than a beya. It's bigger. A kabeya is bigger than a kazayas, right? So now, even in this first thing, we're left with a couple questions. What do you mean bread that we would say hamotzi on? Well, today we're very familiar with that because people have all kinds of special dietary concerns, and we have bread from all kinds of things, and not everything that is called bread is actually halachically bread. It has to be from one of the 5 species of grains, right? So cornbread, not gonna cut it, and a bunch of the gluten-free breads are not hamotzi. Chapter 48, we're going to go more into this, but let's just have a quick review. There are breads that are seemingly like bread, but they don't have hamotzi, halachic status of bread. Netilat Yadayim is dependent on the blessing that is recited upon the food being eaten. So whenever you say hamotzi on the bread, you're required to wash your hands. So the blessings are really tied together. Let's say you say, but wait, I'm only using my right hand. Is it okay if I just wash one hand? Answer is no, you have to wash both hands. Let's say you've got small pieces of bread. Each piece is less than a beya, but it has to do with total volume. So if you know you're going to eat like a half of a challah roll worth of bread, even if you're going to have, it's going to be made up of little pieces, that's going to be enough to wash on. Why is it that it has to be a certain size? Because the way that tuma and tahara work is that tuma, impurity, spiritual impurity, only can affect something which is smaller than an egg, volume of an egg, according to the Torah.
Did the Rav say it cannot or it can? Because tuma affects a corpse, and a corpse is very large.
Corpse is different, right? This is food has different laws of susceptibility than other things, right? There's different categories of sensitivity. That'd be the best way to put it. No problem. The Chazon Ish says it's like about 3 fluid ounces worth of bread. Rav Moshe Feinstein says, although it's better to eat a piece of bread the size of an egg, so you don't have any doubt of whether you should make a bracha or not. Let's say you only want to eat a kazayas of bread, which is less, which is like about 1 fluid ounce. He says you still say Netilat Yadayim. That's, you want to try to get yourself out of doubt. One more. This is the optimal way of doing it. you have to have the right vessel, a sufficient amount of water, and a proper procedure. There are obviously times when we may not have the right amount of water, the right vessel, or some other extenuating circumstances. Those are beyond the right this. We can get to those later, but just as we review these laws to remind us that this is we're talking about, an optimum situation. It is number 2. Netilat Yadayim tzarich liyos davka min hakli. It has to be from a vessel. V'tzriich shalom has to be a whole vessel. Bali shum neket, without any holes or cracks. Osedek mefula, right? It can't be a vessel that leaks. It can't have a vessel with a hole in the bottom. V'gam lamali yeshove. Also, the surface of the top of the vessel must be even. Bali shum charitz or belita, without a crevice or protrusion. In other words, it wants a flat rim. And a lot of times you'll see people, sometimes they place a Netilat Yadayim, especially if you go to a hotel, they put pitchers out, right? So you're not supposed to pour out where there's the lip. That doesn't work. You have to pour out over the flat part. You always want to have a flat surface. So it should be a cup. A cup is much better than a pitcher. Because and you don't want something that has different size heights. And you can't fill your hand with water and go like this, right? Because your hand is not a vessel, does not qualify. Voisa kakanim, those jars, sheyesh lem kamin marzev, they have a spout on one side, as I mentioned, a jar, like I think I have one right here, little show and tell. There we go, right? We got to put a big X through here. Not good for Netilat Yadayim. Great for dinner parties, but not Netilat Yadayim. And sheyesh lem kamin marzev, there's a spout, bolet v'gavoa, right? You see the spout kind of goes up, the upper lip of the vessel. Sheyayxim and derech, but the water is poured anally menu yadayim derech sham. So if that's all you have, don't pour the water through the spout part. This is a perfect example. See how it gets higher here, and then it has a spout. This is a no-no. But let's say you're stuck. That's all you have. Then you're going to want to use this low part here. You look kind of funny, but don't worry about it. Kisham ein lo din kli, because where there's the spout, this doesn't have the halachic status of a vessel. Kevan shein mechazik sham mashkin, because no water can be held here. Ela tzarichin litol derech sfas hakeli, you have to wash by the lip, the lower side. Memalkum shmachzim mashkin, whatever is the lowest level of this kind of a thing. And sometimes you have a vessel that's like this that goes up, and sometimes you have one that goes down. Both cases present issues, so you definitely would want to use just a cup. Okay. Terrific. Thank you, everybody. Have an awesome day.
I love the props.
Yeah, me too. Got to do this more often.
It's so much easier to visualize it. A picture is worth 1,000 words.
Oh, thank you. Good. We'll continue to work those into the class.
Did you explain why? What's the logic of this? That has to be the round surface, the flat, the lower surface.
Oh, because in the laws of vessels, it has to be a place where it actually can store water, and at the place where it's higher up, so you can't fill it this high. You can only fill it this high, right? You can only fill it to this point. You can't fill it up here. So this is technically not part of the vessel. Or if this were to go down, the lower point also doesn't hold water. So it's only a vessel up to the point where it holds water.
Uh-huh. Okay. Okay.
Have a great